We've taken a lot of pride in inventory accuracy. So we have a lot of systems in place to make sure that we have accurate counts and that we ship accurately and that we receive accurately. So as we've grown over the past year or two, we're getting to a point where we've had to hire more warehouse staff, and we're going to need, to be more efficient in that process. Not only does it improve accuracy even more, but it's just a way more efficient process.
Hello and welcome to the Next Level Supply Chain with GS1 US, a podcast in which we explore the mind-bending world of global supply chain, covering topics such as automation, innovation, unique identity, and more. I'm your co-host, Reed.
And I'm Liz.
And welcome to the show. All right, today's episode, go Gadget speed. Small business efficiency is the new next normal, Liz, and I am pumped for today's conversation. Liz, as you know, I just got back from the B to SMB Institute Forum where it was amazing. Like, we talked about small businesses all day long, small, medium businesses, and there's tons of challenges that they go through. But there's also amazing innovation. And we have two great guests today. We have Jeff Witten, who's the CEO, and Steve Pettio, who's the vice president of Rokform. So, gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Reed. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, as Liz and I like to say, we're excited to have you here. But no, seriously, we're really excited for today's conversation. Jeff, if you wouldn't mind, just give us a little background on Rokform, what you all do, how you got started. Just kind of set the stage for us here with your company.
Sure. So we started the company while running another business in the power sports industry. And this was in 2010. During that time, power sports was really struggling with the economic downturn of, the whole mortgage crisis and everything. It was really bad. And it hit the motorcycle industry particularly hard. Sales were down almost 50%, across the nation, motorcycles. And our business was driven by new motorcycle sales. So we had always wanted to diversify into something else. So we were, searching for that. And one day I was talking to our Japanese vendor who sold us really high-end titanium tubing for our exhaust systems. And they were really sad about how bad everything was and kind of singing the blues. And I always like to think a little more on the positive side. So I asked them, hey, what's good going on over there? And they told me that there's these guys making iPhone cases and they couldn't make them fast enough. And so I was like, wow, I'd like something I can't make fast enough. Let me check this out. So we looked at them, and it was a machined aluminum iPhone case, pretty simple. We machined thousands of parts a year, so we knew how to make one. So I said, hey, I think we can make that. So this was in July, and the Macworld show was in January, and I set a goal to build a small product line to take to the Macworld show for iPhones. So we built an iPhone case, and we built two different stands for an iPhone, all machined aluminum, all made in California by us. And we said, hey, if we go to this show and if it works, great. If it doesn't, then, it's 6 months out of our lives and, about $10,000 investment in the trade show booth and travel and inventory. So we got to the show, and it was pretty much an instant success. Like, people really took to the product. It was unique. It was, relatively handmade. No one was doing anything like that. So we took that for about a year, and we kind of hit a ceiling because a lot of guys didn't want to spend $200 for a stand and $100 for an iPhone case. So we knew we needed to be more price sensitive, but we didn't just want to have a basic iPhone case. So we all hated the giant claw mount that went in a car, and that was all that was available at the time. So we developed a unique twist lock system that was integrated into the back of the case. And so you could have a really small, street mount that fits on your dash, and you just twist and lock it on. And while we were developing that, I was like, hey, it'd be really cool if I could stick this iPhone to my golf cart because I play a lot of golf. So we stuck some magnets on the back and I tested it for many, many rounds of golf. And I went, hey, this really works. So we integrated a magnet and the twist lock into the case. And we took that to CES in 2012 and won a Design Innovations Award, which was really cool, being so new to the market. And we're pretty active people, so we had a lot of cyclists in our building. So we built a bike mount, and the bike mount was pretty much an instant hit. We had a big following in the motorcycle industry, so we built a motorcycle mount. We expanded on our car mounts, and we've just kind of kept refining our product line up to today. And now we've got a really great customer base, and what we feel like is just the beginning of a long growth period for Rokform.
Wow, that is amazing. I love how you took the glass half full approach, right? You know, you're in a business, it's the whole woe is me or what can I find to transition to. And then 6 months transitioning. And like you said, it was a $10,000 investment and it was either going to take off or you were going to lose it. And, you know, those are the chances you have to take. That's a really cool story. Thank you for sharing that with us. Really appreciate that.
Yeah. It's awesome. I mean, it almost feels like, because my next question was going to be around the disruption that's happened in the last 2 years, and I'll get to that, but it's almost like you continually disrupted yourselves and evolved to what the industry and consumers need from 2010 on, which is really cool. It's really cool. Because of what's happened in the last 2 years and all of the disruptions from the pandemic and the way people are buying products, can you tell us a little bit about if your business model has changed and how you have been able to stay ahead of that?
Since the pandemic, it hasn't changed much. I think what really in around 2018, we realized that everything was going direct to consumer. Mm-hmm. And so we doubled down on everything related to direct to consumer sales. So our website, our Amazon, our team, we really focused on e-commerce direct to consumer and kind of, I wouldn't say gave up, but we had zero focus on, the big box retailer and things like that. And so when the pandemic hit, we were 100% ready, not only with our inventory, but our product line, how it was packaged, how it was delivered, the efficiency of our supply chain and our fulfillment. I mean, we were completely ready. And had we been focused the other way around on the kind of the retailer, I think we would have really struggled had we not made that kind of line in the sand decision in around 2018 to go full on direct to consumer.
Yeah, so you were really 2 years ahead of the pandemic, had already made that shift. And then when the pandemic hit for you, it was like, okay, business as usual, because we're already in this D2C, less focused on retail stores. That's really interesting that you're reading the tea leaves in where the market was going ahead of it. Let's talk a little bit about your inventory process. You have your own warehouse. You sell through Amazon as well, as you said. You have D2C, probably multiple setups. I'm just assuming that, but maybe if you can share a little bit about your inventory process. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned, and are you leveraging, standards like GS1 standards, global trade item numbers, UPCs, serialized shipping container codes, or anything like that? I think our audience would really be interested in that inventory process.
We do use UPC codes, and when Jeff and I were actively involved in shipping right out of the gates with COVID. We were running day-to-day operations and then also running the warehouse. So we actually learned a ton about our process and inventory, but we were using Amazon barcode labels up until the pandemic. And we quickly realized we needed to shift to manufacturer barcode labels. So that's where UPCs were clutch. It saved a ton of time actually manually, essentially relabeling every item that was going to go to Amazon. So we shipped it over to manufacturer barcode and improved a ton of efficiency that way.
Just on that point, I think what you're saying is you were labeling using Amazon labels, printing them out, putting them on, printing them out, putting them on, and then now you transitioned over and leveraged within your own system to recognize UPC codes that were coming from your manufacturers abroad. And so the boxes and packaging would already come with it on it. You didn't have to relabel it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The box would come with the UPC, but in order to ship to Amazon, we would have to relabel it. And so we set up our system to where we didn't need to do that anymore. So we could efficiently move product from our warehouse into Amazon FBA warehouses. And I mean, without having that ability, we wouldn't have been able to save that much time.
And you have your own warehouses as well. Has there been any other, learnings or efficiencies or things that have changed in the last 4 years that you've been doing, working in this, or has it been status quo for you? And are there some best practices?
Yeah, no, we definitely, again, again, we learned in this process, we had our inventory coming in poly bags. We had it in kind of unorthodox master carton quantities and a lot of labeling on the box. And so what else we learned was that we didn't need to have it come in a poly bag. We'd have to take it out, label it, put it back in. And it was just a step that we didn't need. We learned that to efficiently ship into Amazon, you needed to have the master cartons blank. So you could just slap an Amazon carton label on. So we learned that. We learned that the quantities, it was much more efficient to do in batches of 50. So we could receive a box in from our supplier, put the carton label on it, and just turn it right back out.
Wow.
So, yeah. And we also, right heading into the pandemic, we kind of had a strategic initiative that we wanted to increase our inventory on hand at Amazon. So we went from about a 30 to 45 day supply to a 90-day supply. And we got so lucky because when the pandemic hit, they shut down inbound shipments into Amazon warehouses. Well, we had already stacked them 90 days deep. So we really weren't impacted by that at all. Pandemic hits, you can't ship product to Amazon. If you didn't have a big supply there, you were in trouble. Your listings get pulled, you can't sell. So that we actually got really lucky with that and that initiative.
Wow, that's very interesting. I wouldn't even have thought of that. With those things.
No,
Liz, I know you had a question.
Yeah. So my background is I have a packaging engineering degree, which is dorky and geeky. I totally realize. But when you were talking about the poly bags and the master carton wannabes, like, were there challenges that you needed to address with your suppliers? Did they understand like the packaging shifts that needed to be made? And then how did you address those challenges? It's just really interesting because they must have been doing it for a reason. And you're like, hold up, I need that to be changed. Like, how does that process look?
Yeah, we actually were the ones that created the standards, and we actually did it for big box retail. To Jeff's point, we had kind of tailored our approach to appealing to those large retailers. And so that was the foundation of that. They were easy to adapt. They do whatever we want. We've built great relationships with them. And so it's no more poly bags. Okay. Saves them time, saves them cost. They didn't charge us for it. Just change the size of the master carton. No problem. We can do that. Don't label the carton with all these markings. Yeah, easy. So they adapted really, really well. And yeah, so we were the ones that gave the direction in the beginning, and then we gave new direction, and they adapted. No problem.
It's so many of the conversation I've been having recently with industry is the working electronically and facilitating electronic processes are important, but so much of it is business relationships too. And keeping those relationships going, the communication, whether it's email or phone, just having that rapport can help move things along more quickly too. It's been interesting hearing those themes through all of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you all manage the data between your warehouses and what you're providing Amazon? Is that one integrated system? Is it two systems that you marry together? I know just folks out there, they're all tackling it a few different ways, and we're curious as to how you guys are dealing with it.
Yeah, it's still relatively manual. So we place an order with the supplier. It gets here. We count it, and then we use NetSuite. And so when I'll just enter the PO into the system and receive the PO in, it's just a click, enter the quantity, save. And now it's in our main warehouse in NetSuite. Now we want to move inventory to a different FBA warehouse, be it domestic or international. We just perform a manual inventory transfer. So we have visibility of what's in our main warehouse and what's in our Amazon warehouses. And we have several across the world, including here domestically, one warehouse here, and then Canada, EU, UK, Japan, and several throughout the world. So it's really a manual transaction. We don't use scanners yet. I think we're headed in that direction.
So you're not using handheld barcode scanners?
No.
Wow. I'm a little surprised on that. I'm not offended. I'm just a little surprised.
Yeah,
my son always says, "Oh, I'm offended." But let me ask you this: roughly, how many employees do you all have?
We have now 14 full-time employees, and then we have a handful of independent contractors that we use for various tasks. Could be copywriting, could be content, video, photography, marketing. Yeah.
Right. That's it. The things are starting to come together for me. It's so funny because you learn things in different spots and then it kind of comes together. You know, we're having this conversation today, but as I started the show with, a week ago, I was at the B2 SMBI, Small Medium Business Institute. You know, it doesn't roll off of my tongue that fast. But NetSuite was there. They had a big presence. They were talking about, Accenture was talking about things. Verizon was talking about things. And then there were a lot of smaller, not as well-known household name companies talking about small, medium businesses. And it's just very interesting to talk with you all today. And you mentioned NetSuite. You're not using handheld scanners today, but folks were talking about that. And that was what prompted me. And it's an investment. You guys are running a large business with a small amount of people, but in, enterprise terms, it's a small, medium business. It's not this, massive thing. And it's just really, to me, it's very exciting. It's very inspiring as well. So, Liz, I know you wanted to add something.
Yeah, I mean, just to elaborate, Reed, we started obviously small from the ground up and only recently scaled, and we've taken a lot of pride in inventory accuracy. So we have a lot of systems in place to make sure that we have accurate counts and that we ship accurately and that we receive accurately. So as we've grown over the past year or two, we're getting to a point where we've had to hire more warehouse staff, and we're going to need, to be more efficient in that process. Not only does it improve accuracy even more, but it's just a way more efficient process. So an official WMS, scanners, those are on the horizon for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And to your point, without a solid foundation, what everyone talked about at the conference was if you have a little problem with a small business, it's a decent sized problem with a medium business, and it's a very large problem with a large business. So the more people you add, it's the more variables you add to. They talked about people, process, and procedures nonstop, having tight documented processes and tight collection of data so that you could have it at your fingertips. And if the manager in charge wasn't there, someone else could have it at their fingertips, but then control. There's a lot that goes into this. And I I commend you all for looking down the road. I mean, 2018, you're ahead of the D2C curve, and your inventory accuracies. I know Liz gets excited about the supply chain accuracies.
Yeah, not only am I a packaging geek, that data quality piece is so important, because without that, you're going to disappoint your consumers and trading partners. And so, yeah. And I guess my next question is based off of that is, you've navigated so much in a short time. What advice do you have from a supply chain perspective for other small businesses who've moved through this world of selling online and being successful in the way that consumers are wanting products now?
Yeah, my advice is that relationship piece. So maintain exceptional relationships with your suppliers. I mean, we treat our suppliers as well as we treat our customers. And we've been fortunate enough to be able to build these quality relationships. So they'll do anything for us. We use magnets in our phone cases. Well, there was a supply shortage of magnets during the pandemic, and the cost of the magnets was just climbing like crazy. So our vendors were willing to forecast out how many magnets we were going to need, buy them for us at the current rate, stock them, not charge us for them. And then that way, we save money and we save time. We could turn orders much more efficiently, cut lead times by doing that. So that just proved to be invaluable. And then beyond that, relationships with your freight carriers is key. So I have a really good relationship with all of our freight carriers. So if there was a challenge, like a transit time challenge, I could easily navigate that challenge because I was so close with them.
That's awesome. Well, we're starting to run out of time, but we have a couple of things we wanted to cover with both of you. And Jeff, I'm going to start with you. We always like to hear from our guests, what's their favorite piece of technology that they're using today? It could be related to work. It could be related to personal, but you're just really enjoying using this piece of technology for whatever reasons, pleasure, efficiencies, productivity. What's something that you're using today that's just your favorite tech?
I think it's like everybody, the iPhone. I mean, I'm using it right now to be on this call because I have some weird circumstances going on, but it allowed me to log in and be with you guys today. And without the iPhone, we really wouldn't have a business. So I love the iPhone. I also use it every day for more than just a phone. We can access our NetSuite with it. We can look at our Amazon. We can look at our Shopify. I mean, everything's right there in the palm of your hand. And just a fundamental piece of our business is the iPhone.
Yeah, I mean, the technology has been transformational for sure. And Steve, what's tech? And it could be the same, but it could be something different too. What's your tech choice?
You know what? I think our G-Rock wireless golf speaker is just amazing. I mean, it's got these two giant magnets on the back of it. When you go to stick it on your golf cart, it almost flies out of your hand. And it's really it's a conversation piece and a real cool piece of tech. So I'm going with the shameless plug.
I think that's awesome. Awesome. So our next question is around what's blowing your mind. From a technology, it can be something related to that, something just in the world that's blowing your mind.
I think the way business has changed in the last 30 years or so since I've been in business. I was thinking about this question, and when we started in the power sports business, I mean, the way how we connected with customers is we'd have to travel to a trade show or an event or put a tiny ad in a magazine and scan a slide to make an ad. And now you can start a business from your house as long as you have an internet connection and build a website and make a video all with just your iPhone. And it's so much easier now to start a business and operate a business with fulfillment centers and this huge vast supply chain at your fingertips from your computer. But at the same time, the fundamentals have not changed. So you have to have a quality product, you have to deliver it on time, and you have to take care of your customers. And so the difference in business fundamentals hasn't changed, but how you get there has made a complete 180. And I'm just blows my mind how fast that happened.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it is. I mean, we are in an industrial revolution, and it's a digital revolution that's happening right now, and we're right in the middle of it. Because, as you said, 30 years ago, you would have to have a significant relationship with a retailer, probably 80% of the time, or you're doing a catalog. And catalogs were run a little bit differently. But now you don't need to have a relationship with either, and you can just start going and creating things and putting them out there. It really is, this new generation that's doing it, and they're changing things. And the internet has enabled scale that people just couldn't get. I mean, I like to, I'm, old. So I use analogies with my friends and stuff. It's like, remember when we went to music concerts and that was the only time you could get the t-shirt? Like, that was the only place you could get the t-shirt. And then if you bought it at Walmart or Target or someplace else, you were a sellout. It wasn't cool enough. But now they're having a special event that happens, and they're selling the merch worldwide. So it's the exact same merch. It's the exact same everything that's happening. So I can't thank you both enough for being on the show. We talked about data quality, which is awesome. Liz and I love that, and we're glad to see that you all love it as well. Jeff, you just talked about the fundamentals of business don't change. And Steve, you brought up the importance of relationships. And that's that soft skill that people just, often forget. And, I love that you called out, you treat your suppliers as good as you treat your customers, because it's a partnership. They're really going to help you out when the going gets tough. And the glass half full, Jeff, I love the story. And a lot of us are in that boat right now. And funny enough, on the flight home, because I live in North Carolina, and the B to SMBI event last week was in California, and in Northern California. And I was flying home, and there was no internet on the plane. And so I did the old fashioned thing. I read a book. And Liz, you'll be surprised about this, but I finished the book.
Impressive.
Start to finish. It was a very easy read, nice read, but it was called The Energy Bus. It was called The Energy Bus. And it's, glass half full, but we all you have two ways to look at it. Either my business is going out of business, or what's trending up. Let's leave the negative energy and follow the positive energy in the glass half full. And when we come into work and we're like, hey, this is a great day. I know we had all this other stuff, but there's so many other good things to look forward to, as opposed to everyone coming in and going, oh man, it's doom and gloom. We got a war and a pandemic and a famine. And, we have to find the ways. So really appreciate both of you today. It really brought a bright spot to my day. And thank you both.
Thank you for joining the Next Level Supply Chain with GS1 US.